So Nadeshot has responded, talking about all of his gambling stuff. I think there was a bit of drama going on with 100 Thieves having layoffs and him going to gamble in Mexico. Uh, newsflash, the two don't correlate at all. It's not like if he didn't do the gambling thing that the layoffs wouldn't have happened. If so would have happened. Bad timing, looks bad, but ultimately they don't have anything to do with each other. But honestly, Nadeshot is just the most recent and a very popular person. So this gambling stuff starting and people getting riled up. Gambling will always get people riled up. I made a video before just simply because I wanted to talk about how gambling is everywhere, and I honestly hate that. I think it's so dumb and has nothing to do with Nadeshot himself. It's literally littered everywhere across traditional sports, esports, influencers. It's everywhere. And I hate it. But we'll see what Nadeshot said, react to his response. But the big drama here was like layoffs at 100 Thieves and Nadeshot gambling. And the bad news is for people who are all up in arms is they really don't correlate. So we will see what Nadeshot said. And again, like I want nothing to do with being like I'm hating Nadeshot or I hate Nadeshot or anything because that's just not the case, right? And I don't want it to come off like that. So we'll see what Nadeshot said here. He posted the whole video. The beginning part of this was talking about, the 100 Thieves layoffs, bad timing to do a Roobet stream and all this stuff. Digging a little bit more into Nadeshot, like specific deal, Roobet isn't allowed in the United States, and he does talk about his analytics for YouTube. And where he like streams with adults. I think it's pretty early here.
That had been on the calendar for weeks and weeks and weeks. So a terrible situation, terrible turn of events. But that's what happened with the layoffs and 100 Thieves and Roobet. So now the last thing I want to talk about is the morality of gambling on stream. All right, listen to me. If I were fucking named Nick A30 and I'm doing Fortnite fashion shows or I'm hide and seeking in this YouTube video and all of a sudden when they come find me, I'm hiding in a casino. I'm like, hey kids, now that you're here, let's gamble. I'm looking.
So he's going to get the analytics right here. Obviously, people would be far more aggressive against this, I guess, if it's like you're doing child or kid content and content that's geared towards kids. That would be a lot worse, right? But I think you shouldn't be promoting gambling to anyone. I don't care if it's a 15-year-old or a 95-year-old. Like, I dislike gambling in general. I think it's terrible for everyone. I think it lures people in. There's a reason why these giant gambling companies have sprung up. There's a reason why they're paying sports teams, esports teams, influencers so much money is because they're making multiples back on that money. They're not giving out money out of the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because it makes them more money. And the reason they make money is because people are losing money from their site. But he talks about his analytics
And
here.
at my back-end analytics on YouTube right now, 59% of my audience is 25 through 34 years old. 19% of my audience is 35 through 44 years old. 5% of my audience is 45 through 54 years old. Dude, 13 to 17-year-olds, 0.02%.
So those numbers, I don't think mean a whole lot. I'm going to be honest. My analytics also, and I'm nothing close to Nadeshot, nowhere near millions of views. But even mine is like the vast majority of viewers are 25 plus, right? And it's like 7% are in the 13 to whatever, 13 like 18 or 17 range or something, whatever their ranges they do. But the big problem with that is you can lie on YouTube. So I'm sure most people, to get around age restriction stuff, make an account and say that they're 110 years old, right? And you're not 110. I think PewDiePie even went like he talked about his account being like 150 years old or something is what it says he is. So those analytics, not the greatest way to measure unless they've changed something where they take a smarter approach to it to determine someone's age. I don't know, but most of the people can lie on their YouTube account about their age. It's happens 24/7. So those analytics, not very spot on. Also, like I said, I don't think personally that you should be promoting it to anyone, right? I don't obviously kids are worse because you can hook them on like gambling. You can get them hooked a lot harder, and then it'll be a lot worse for them and just set them down a really bad path. But also, you can do the same thing with adults, right? You can do the same thing with someone who's 20, 30, 40 years old. If they're watching someone who that they enjoy or really like starting to gamble, and then they see you winning tons of money, they say, "Oh my god, I that could be me," and that's life changing. And then they go and do that, and they lose all their money. And unlike the people who are promoting gambling, they can't come back from that. They don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank account, millions of dollars in the bank account to fall back on. So, and again, like, I am not attacking Nadeshot. I'm not saying he's the worst person in the world and I hate him for this gambling stuff. It's more about a broad thing, like I've said countless times and keep saying it, because I am not attacking Nadeshot. I am not saying he's a terrible person for doing gambling stuff. I'm just saying in general, I hate that the entirety of like every industry on the planet, it seems like, is moving towards gambling sponsors, because that's how they can take the most amount of money from people who watch their content, whether it's traditional sports, esports, influencers, everyone. It's across everything. It's not limited to any one person.
Brother. Guys, you act like I make Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite videos. You know what I mean? I mean, fuck. I'm watching ESPN, and I got a money line spread ticker on the bottom of the screen. I mean, across all major forms of entertainment and media, gambling advertising happens. I was doing the case openings a month and a half ago, and we were losing our minds over it. They're like, yo, gold, gold, gold. Open some cases, man. You got to start drinking right now. Like, people were all about it. And I said, time.
Something's got to be studied with that, too, because honestly, I hate gambling. I hate all this stuff. And, you know, opening cases, it is gambling. But, like, I don't know. That feels different. It's like watching Nadeshot open those cases and stuff. There was, like, storyline. He didn't get it gold. He was dry forever. It was so bad. It's like, I don't know. It felt different. It felt more like, you know, him hanging out and making jokes with him and stuff, and more fun. It's still gambling, right? But it wasn't sponsored gambling or anything like that. But yeah, something's got to be studied with CS, because somehow, you know, those guys, it's insane. Everyone can get behind CS cases, so it's crazy.
Time again. If I'm sitting on stream and you guys were watching the case opens, if you didn't, even if I'm streaming Call of Duty, brother, I make terrible jokes all day. And I said, if I get a gambling deal, I'm doing it. And people were like, fuck yeah, brother. You want to drink and gamble? Let's do it. I'm like, hell yeah. And it happened, and it's awesome. All right? It's awesome. Don't gamble, you will lose. I'm telling you right now, don't gamble, you will lose. But I've got fucking Drake, Trainwrecks, XQC. I've got some of the biggest creators, some of the biggest names of entertainment doing this. Look, I'm not trying to sit and be like, just they do it, I can do it. But holy shit, man. I feel like I just spawned in, and I'm the first one to ever do a gambling deal. Now,
it doesn't seem like that, but it's because Nadeshot's such a massive personality. Like, he's bigger than I think he thinks. Like, Nadeshot's bigger than Train. Like, I think Train pulls more numbers and does like way bigger gambling streams and way bigger money. Maybe I'm just not in that sphere of the internet. I really never watched Trainwrecks at all, really. But I've always just known who he was, but I've never really watched him. But I do hate that. Like he says, don't gamble, you lose your money. Trainwreck says it, don't gamble, you'll lose. He puts the banner on and stuff. None of that matters, right? It's like, it's similar. Like, if you were going to promote smoking and you would say, don't smoke, it's bad for you, but you're puffing on a cigarette every chance you get, and you're promoting this stuff and you're selling it, like, it doesn't matter that you say it's bad for you. You know, people don't care what you put on the screen or say it's bad for you. They care what you're doing, and they're going to follow you do that stuff. So I personally don't like that, or think that it really does anything. Like, it's kind of like a liability thing, it feels like putting it out and saying, don't gamble, you'll lose, to make themselves feel better. And it feels like I'm attacking Nadeshot again. I promise you, I'm not attacking an HR or any individual doing gambling stuff. I'm sure you're getting paid ungodly amounts of money. Is it actually worth it? You know, I don't know. At that level, is it worth it? Like, at multi-million dollars, unless they're paying you, you know, what you have in your bank account monthly, like, I don't know. Is it that insane? I'm sure it's money that that would be dumb to turn down. But the difference between someone like Nadeshot, Train, XQC, I don't know if he has a gambling deal, probably, right? But these people who have millions, tens of millions of dollars, if they go gambling and they lose a couple $100,000, even millions of dollars for some of these guys, that doesn't change their life, which is the difference between them and a normal person, right? Uh, you don't get to do that as a normal person. You don't get to go gamble and lose. The normal if somebody lost like $5,000, $10,000, that could just devastate their life for years, right? To recover from that, and they could be living on the edge for years of barely paying bills or making payments on stuff. So that's the biggest thing I personally like don't like with the influencer side, because I think it is different with Nadeshot, Trainwrecks, XQC, Faces promoting gambling. These companies do that because it's more personable. You're a lot closer to your viewers. It's a lot easier to transition a person who watches these people into a customer if you're a casino, than it is to go in a faceless organization. You know, you sponsor an esports team or you sponsor a traditional sports team or a stadium or something. People will see it and be like, "Oh yeah, whatever, that's cool." But it won't. It doesn't hit as hard, right? That doesn't. I would be willing to bet that the conversion from people who were watching an influencer stream gambling is light years higher than the conversion of someone seeing a ticker on, or a logo on their favorite team's jersey or a logo in their favorite team's stadium. I think that converts way lower than this model, which is why they do it, right?
Listen, I am not in the day-to-day 100 Thieves anymore. My demographic is significantly older than what people say. So if you guys, if you hate me just exclusively for gambling, I can see why some people would hate it or hate me. I got offered an ungodly amount of money to go do something that I enjoy doing already, that I, from time to time, it's just what it is, man. It's what it is. So look, I'm not sure if this video helped at all, because honestly, the more I kept talking through it, the more upset I kept getting and the more condescending I probably sounded. But that's where I'm at here. That's how I feel. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything that I missed, but yeah. All right. Hope that helped. Right. That was a shit.
All right. So that's for Nadeshot. Honestly, he says like, oh, if you hate him for this gambling thing, I think you can separate the two. Like, I don't think there's any reason to hate Nadeshot because he's doing gambling stuff. I think that's kind of ridiculous to be like, oh, this guy, he's the scum of the earth because he's gambling on stream promoted. I think you can hate the gambling. That's where I am. I hate that gambling's taking over everything. That it just seems to be plastered everywhere and you can't even get away from it. I just hate that in general. Maybe I'm way too biased to be looking at stuff like this, but there's no reason to hate Nadeshot. I don't think I've always seen him as, especially when 100 Thieves does layoff stuff, I think he's genuine. I think he cares and hates doing that. And obviously, if he could, get away around doing that, I think he would. So, I don't think anyone should hate Nadeshot for gambling. I don't think anyone should hate him for taking a promotion to do gambling. He says an ungodly amount of money. I mean, it's got to be something absolutely insane for him. Like, Nadeshot's got money. Maybe he doesn't have as much money as I think. I don't know. I thought Nadeshot's got deep pockets, but I'm sure he does. But again, nothing against him. Nothing against any individual person doing like gambling streams. More just against or hating the road that everything's gambling. Everything's got a casino partner and a BetMGM and ESPN Bet, and sports teams have stake logos on them, and Vitality has a stake logo on them, and everyone's just got to gamble, otherwise they can't make any money. It's always been said, at least up until now, because everything has gambling, that a company, you could tell a company was struggling if they took a gambling sponsor, because those are big money and or big or easy money, and it just comes in and helps you pay for stuff. It was that, or I think adult content is when you see companies taking on those types of advertisements, you can tell they're struggling and scratching the bottom of the barrel. But it seems like it's everywhere at this point, so I don't even know if that's true anymore. But yeah, no one should hate Nadeshot, strictly because of this gambling thing. I think that's kind of weird. But yeah, just sucks to see the entire industry's you know, everywhere going down this road. And how long will it last? You know, I can't imagine that shoving gambling down everyone's throat is going to be a healthy endeavor for the next, you know, few decades. Some point, something has to happen, right? So people have to wake up and realize, man, I'm losing a lot of money gambling and I haven't made anything. And all these people who are telling me to are rich. So I think at some point people will get upset with it. We'll see what happens. That's it for this video. As always, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video.